Right.
So welcome Siren to this episode of Lincolnshire New Folk Movement. Thank you very much for joining me. I have Steve here and also Caroline. So welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Hello.
Great to be here.
Nice
Okay.
to see you.
Hopefully you've seen a few of these videos, so you know it's not like a grilling or anything. It's just a bit of a chat. Well, I've got my quick fire questions for the end. So to start off with, I thought it's always good just find out a little bit of background about you, sort of how you got into music, what you've been doing. So we'll start with Caroline. So tell us a bit about your musical background.
My sister used to play acoustic guitar. She was a little kid, and I used to sing along. Thought I could sing. Then I heard myself on an old-fashioned tape recorder and thought, ouch, I'm never singing again. But then did start in bands, started off in a sort of punk band, and then there's that Steve's clock.
I'm sorry about that.
I know that sound. Yeah, in a punk band, but only playing bass. I didn't sing.
What do you mean only playing bass?
Well, what I mean is I didn't do any songwriting or singing.
Oh, okay.
But then at school, we started our own band, girl band. Always loved girl bands. But and that I wrote all the songs and did backing on that. And then they all left, all the singers left. And it was like, right, we're doing a gig. You're going to have to sing. So that's how I started singing.
What was the name of your punk band?
They were called Eternal Scream.
That's a really good punk band name. Eternal Scream.
Yes, and it was. Yeah.
That's really fascinating. As we'll talk a little bit later about your current sound with Siren.
Very different. Yeah.
No, I would have predicted that. So, Steve, your background. How did you get into music and that kind of stuff?
I started playing a bit of guitar when I was about 17. Then I went on to drums when I was about early 20s. Played in a few bands. The first band was called Rabbi Johnson's Underwater Melody Farm, which is a bit of a mouthful. And then another one called Gollum. We were more into sort of Lord of the Rings sort of stuff.
Oh, nice.
And I played then I didn't pick up the drums for about 20 years. Then I started playing again about 7 or 8 years ago. And I was in a heavy metal band called Concrete Badger till about a year and a half ago, but we're friends but we don't play anymore. And then I met up with Caroline, and I bought the handpan, started the handpan beforehand about 3 years ago. And yeah, since then we've got together and sort of morphed into Siren, making 99% of our own stuff, which is great.
That's really fascinating then. So your background's from punk and heavy metal and sort of like psychedelia, I think, as well. Is that true, Steve? Bit of psych rock.
Yeah, to do with a wah in it.
So how did you come about then with this new sound? Because I mean, if you tell me, how would you describe Siren?
Go ahead, Caroline.
Oh, it's hard really, because it's sort of, I would say, ethereal, atmospheric. You know, we're not known for happy songs, even though we like to laugh. You know, we have fun. You know, to gigging and practicing and everything. But yeah, our songs are quite deep and meaningless, I suppose, or meaningful, whichever you prefer. But the sound is, I would say, a bit ethereal, that kind of thing. New folkish with a twang of that going on. But we met at a summer solstice party a few years ago, and we started in a band that didn't really work out. But then we sort of decided to join up just to see how it went. And I actually had a gig like 2 days later, and I said, "Steve, do you want to do it?" And we had a rehearsal the night before, and we did it. That was at the Pump House, with the Songwriters Guild. And we did it there, just I think 3 songs, and it went well. And we thought, yeah, this is sounding good. That mixture of bass playing like lead guitar, me playing a bass but guitar, and the vocals. It just seemed to work. So
is that the first time I saw you then? Because I remember seeing you at the Pump House, and I'd never seen you before, and I hadn't heard of you. And one of your songs literally made me cry. It was so
That was at the
beautiful.
gas lamp.
Oh, the
That was
gas
at the
lamp.
gas lamp.
Oh, not the
Yeah.
pump house. Yeah, same road.
Yeah, same road.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that
is,
wasn't
yeah.
long. I don't think that was that long after, was it, Steve?
No, I think it's probably about 3 months or so, I think.
Yeah,
Early
early
last year.
days.
But that was great. The pump house was quite challenging, only having one rehearsal.
Yeah.
Luckily, we didn't have to play for too long anyway. So I think it was 3 numbers, wasn't it? And that was,
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
that's about all we had anyway. But yeah, the gas lamp. I know the song you mean. Yes, it's "Weak at the Knees." It's called.
Weak at the knees.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that song myself as well. I love playing that bass on that one as well. It's one of my favourites. One of our favourite songs, anyway.
Absolutely. I would describe your sort of. I think the word that always comes to mind when thinking about your sound is subtlety. There's so much going on in there, but it's all kind of subtle, and each line, each instrument is quite clear and clean, and it's just, I think, ethereal. Yeah, that kind of it's so good. I'm a fan, as you may have gathered.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I can't see you guys often enough. So, because you've got quite a range of instruments, you're not sort of like me, where it's just, okay, I've got an acoustic guitar and that'll do you, thank you very much. You kind of bringing in quite a lot of different things, like you said, with the lead bass. So some of them are just a bass and vocals, aren't they? And then we've got the hand pans. Yeah, shadow.
Shadow is bass and vocals.
Yes.
And it is very bare, as you say, but I think there's some power in that, isn't there, for that, having that sparse bareness.
Yeah.
I think it really works. What were you saying, Steve?
Well, I was going to say you can't say that we put to we're filled with lots of instruments, but we do whatever we can, the best we can. With just the two of us, and I think it works great. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And the hand pans are a real kind of sort of a signature, I suppose, of you.
Yeah.
You're sat next to them there, Steve. Do you want to give us a quick go and show us what they are?
I can if you want to. Yeah, this is my G1, and we'll say it's.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Just love them. I mean, I find that sound so inspirational. I hear that, and we've been working more on hand pan and vocal only songs, and it just works so well with that sort of ethereal sound. I just love them. As soon as I hear them, I think, oh, it is very inspiring.
And they can really fill a space, can't they? I think because although they're just an acoustic instrument, I remember last time we played together trying to mic them up, but sometimes it just doesn't need it, does it? It's kind of like they've got a lovely resonance to them on their own.
Yeah, I think
that depends a lot on the space, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, if we're playing in a small gig or something, they're great because I like walking around with one of them on one of the numbers we do, and it's great. Yes, it's I'm starting. I've got a small bass drum as well, which I'm going to integrate to a couple of the numbers just to give it a beat in the background as well.
Nice.
But when you're doing a gig, you're taking like 5 hand pans along with you, and a bass drum and a bass guitar and amplifier and a 12 string as well. It's sort of like it's quite challenging.
That's it. So much gear for this kind of, like I say, this relatively sparse ethereal kind of sound. It's like, no, bring on the truck. Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you start with the hand pans then? What got you into that?
Well, I was on holiday in Glastonbury, in Glastonbury itself, and there was a guy. We went to Wales for the day, and there was a guy playing one in a sort of stone entrance near the church, Wells Cathedral, and he was playing it. And I said, "What are those? I'd never seen one before." And then when he told me how much they were, I thought I can't afford one of those. And when I got back home, I ordered one from a company down in Devon, and I've got 7 now in different keys, and I love them. Yeah, just. I mean, the great thing is in the summer is you can take them out anywhere, to the beach or wherever, and just chill out, or in the woods or something. So yeah, I love them.
Yeah.
I'm sold.
Three's an interest, seven's some kind of addiction, I would say.
yeah. I've got
Needs therapy.
I've got a very addictive personality, I'm afraid.
So with this, your options with instruments and things like that you've got available to you, and always pushing the boundaries, how do you sort of go about with your songwriting? Does it start with instruments, or does it start with the lyrics? How do you go about that then, Caroline? Sort of, how do these songs come about?
They can go either way. Sometimes I'll come up with lyrics first, just get an idea. But mostly I would say I come up with a couple of chords, because that's most songs that I've written are on 2 chords, and just start that way. And then it just tends to happen. And sometimes literally 15 minutes and it's formed. It may not be fully formed, but I've got an idea and I've got the lyrics. It's more an atmosphere about a song than necessarily the words. But then the words kind of come with that atmosphere. So if it's like Weak at the Knees, which is very love gone wrong, that kind of thing, then the rhythm and the sound will follow that. It's very much sort of, there's not a lot of great deep thought gone into it. It's more about feeling
Kind of like,
than anything.
Yeah, sort of a natural kind of like these things emerge out of ideas, I suppose.
Yeah.
And is that then developing them into full songs with Steve? Is that then you take the song to Steve and he sort of works his magic with instrumentation on it?
Absolutely. He'll come up with bass part, or we'll change it slightly to, particularly if it's with the hand pans, it might change rhythm, it might change key a little bit, but it's the feel, really. That's what we're looking for, isn't it, Steve? We're going for that. We can feel if it's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, if I come up with a new hand pan pattern or something, I'll show it to Caroline, and then we'll see if we can work some lyrics around that as well, and or a song. If Caroline comes on with some lyrics and a song, we can either use a hand pan if it works better with that, or I'll just put a sort of a bass line in that's sort of counter to the actual whatever Caroline's playing on the guitar, really. I sort of fill it in with bass parts, and try, and just elaborate on that, really. Yeah.
How have you found that kind of collaborative working during lockdown? Have you managed to like kind of keep being creative and sharing things with each other while we're all stuck inside?
Not as much as we'd like to, really.
We're technically not that great. Yeah. That's part of our problem, really, and we're trying to upskill ourselves, because we realise we need more skills and in how to do that, because things with other people who've got all those skills, it's easier. Like with a couple of things I've done with Pete, that's because he's got all those skills, so he can just say, can you do this, and I can do it, whereas Steve and I are both about the same level of ineptitude.
We're working on it, basically, Jake. We're going to work on it, because we've got no option now anyway until we get together. And we're working on one
at the moment, actually, aren't we? We're working on one called Dream of Light, which is very hand pan led, a pattern that Steve's come up with. It's beautiful. It's quite intricate, and I'm sort of working on how to blend the vocals and the lyrics to that to his piece, because it takes quite a bit of work sometimes to get things to. I mean, they may sound like they don't have a lot of thought in those kind of things, but they do, because it's getting the rhythms right and the tones and everything, and the progression from one hand pan to the other, things like that. But it's great. I love doing that. I just have to try a bit harder to get it right.
I think
can be challenging. There's one number we do with 3 hand pans in it, isn't there, Caroline?
Yeah.
And that's quite challenging. The Judy Zook number, and but it's lovely. When we get it right, it's really original. Doing something like that. A lot of people play hand pans, but they either don't put so many lyrics to it, or they try and play something else. we've only got one cover number, if you like, someone else's number on the handpan. All the rest is our own stuff. But it's nice to try do that. We're working on other numbers as well.
I'm really pleased you're still sort of like, there's something going on. You're still productive and creative, because I say I've every time I've seen you, it just always kind of blows my mind. So, and thinking about like all those, the kind of the gig scene, how do you feel? Because you've both been playing music for quite a long time, so you've sort of experienced the different things. What do you think about that acoustic scene, that kind of like the acoustic and folk scene in and around Lincolnshire?
Well, it's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's, I think and I think Belle said it really well when you spoke to her. It's really comparable with anywhere else, like London or other places where there is a really strong scene here, I think, of all different genres, and there's really good collaborations. There's a lot of support. I mean, that's what I love, that it's supporting each other, collaborating, doing gigs, the things that you set up, Jake. You've done. I think Belle spoke about it as well at the Bullring, which was the weirdest place. It's the only place I've ever had to go through a dip, foot dip to get to the stage.
Yeah.
It was brilliant, and it was weirdly
Yeah.
brilliant. We're up for weirdly brilliant, and like the Alford, Spilsby, and there's lots of, and in Lincoln as well. I think it's really strong and very good quality. That's what I'd say.
Yeah. So and everyone's supportive of each other. There's the people around here that play are great people. You can mix with them, and I think we all support each other really, which is good.
I'd really agree with that. Yeah.
I don't. We don't feel we're not competitive people anyway, and it doesn't feel like that either with anyone, which I think is great as well. The egos,
Yeah, I think, I definitely second that. That when you play at a gig, you feel like everybody wants you to do well, and everybody else, and for me personally, I always want whoever's playing to sort of like have the best experience you can, and sort of, and I think that's part of one of the reasons I wanted to set this up, really, that I miss that kind of like chatting to people and seeing how the gig has gone, and what's going on next, and that kind of thing, and just find stuff out. So they're all my main questions I think I had. So I've got some quick fire questions for you. Okay, which is interesting given how you said you're not competitive. So we'll find out a bit about that. Okay, so the first question is cheese and onion or salt and vinegar?
Cheese and onion.
Yeah, I'd say cheese and onion.
Cheese and onion, a clear winner there. Okay, what's your favourite day of the week?
They're all the same now.
That's a good answer, Steve.
I would say Friday night, Saturday morning.
Oh, okay. You're going for a 24-hour period, but over 2 days.
Yeah.
That's really greedy.
Sorry.
Yeah. In only one day you can choose. Yeah,
it's still 24 hours.
It's 24 hours. I'm good. Yeah. I wasn't specific enough. Yeah. Okay. And this is the last one, because I thought, because there's two of you, it's the first time I've done an interview with two people. So out of the two of you, who would win at Krypton Factor?
Caroline.
What is Krypton Factor?
Remember the TV show? Yeah, where you had to do like puzzles, and there was like a memory test, and there was also a physical test. You had to climb over all the stuff and all that kind of thing.
Well.
Yeah,
I remember it well. Yeah.
Do you remember that, Caroline? You're too young.
Not that well. I have to admit, I'm not a fan of like any kind of game shows or anything like that, so I probably didn't watch it. But
it was an intellectual game show, though, wasn't it, Jake? It
was. Yeah. Well, yeah. Steve's clearly going to win because he at least knows what the games are.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Steve. You've got the Krypton Factor trophy this time.
Well
So-
done, Steve.
Yeah, they were all my questions, but thank you very, very much for joining me. It's been absolutely delightful to speak to you both again, and I hope you're taking care of yourselves.
And you,
Yeah,
Jake.
yeah.
Thanks for having us on here. It's been really good.
Yeah, thanks, Jake.
Take care.
I look forward to seeing you in the future anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there will be a future.
Perfect.
What's the song that I'm going to put on after this?
I think it's Black Box,
Yeah,
which is the one that Steve walks around playing, which is probably one of the most sparse ones we do, but yeah, Black Box.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you
And
very
it's
much
a
for
live
joining me.
version
Oh,
of that we did in the summer, just in Steve's house. So it's a bit demo-y, but it's quite fun because we had fun doing it.
Yeah.
that's the important thing, isn't it? If you're not having fun anymore, you're doing it wrong.
Oh, you've got to have fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, you guys take
Thank
care
you.
of each other, and I will
Thank
see
you.
you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye.
I